Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and we begin with a sad and frankly outrageous story right here in the nation's capital, Georgetown University, the Jesuits, a Catholic school right here in Washington, teaching medical students about puberty blockers and hormone therapy, specifically for minors. The woman who broke that story, Amber Athey of the Spectator, joins us right now. Amber, great story, although it really ticks me off, frankly. Lay this out for us. What exactly is going on at Georgetown?
So this is a class that's actually a foundational course for first-year medical students. It's a requirement. It's in the reproductive system block. It's called Human Sexuality. And in this course, I obtained lecture slides from a Dr. David Reitman, who provides a guest lecture on transgender health care. And in these slides, he presents all types of falsehoods to these future doctors along the lines of puberty blockers are fully and completely reversible. He claims that if medical students don't provide puberty blockers or hormone therapy to minors, then they will probably kill themselves. He also claims that gender differences can present as early as infancy. So this is a lecture that is full of propaganda, and frankly, it's emotional blackmail by telling these future doctors that unless they provide these treatments, i.e. mutilation of children, then their patients will commit suicide. We're
going to go through these slides. We have all the materials that you included in your article at The Spectator, but real fast, is this the kind of thing where a college will say, listen, we're an accredited university. If we're giving out medical degrees, we have to teach this stuff, even if you disagree with it?
Here's the problem. You can teach that these things exist, but this is a clear endorsement. They are encouraging these doctors to do this. And Georgetown is a Catholic school. In fact, it's the oldest Catholic medical school in the country. And I talked to multiple Catholic ethicists for this article who made very clear that this is inappropriate. This is a huge violation of Catholic medical ethics, because Catholic medical ethics are about acknowledging biological reality and objective truth. And there's not a belief that someone can be born in the wrong body or that they could ever become a member of the opposite sex.
Yeah, Thomas Aquinas is rolling up in heaven. I was going to say in his grave, but he's in heaven. He's the saint. Let's start with this first slide, gender dysphoria. It describes it. If we could pull that up on the screen. What sticks out to you here? Oh yeah, there we go. 41% of trans people reported at least one suicide attempt in their life. That's a very misleading stat, isn't it? Because a lot of this time, these suicide attempts happen after transition.
Exactly, yeah.
It suggests that the solution is you must transition them or they will
and there are plenty of studies that actually indicate the opposite, that individuals are more likely to attempt suicide or suffer from depression or other underlying mental illnesses after the transition period.
This is an important point. This is evolving science, or I don't even want to use the word science, because much of it, as you said, is sort of political agenda that is being inflicted into science or injected into science. It is evolving. 10 years ago, this class would not exist.
No, I mean, maybe even 5 years ago. This is incredibly new. And I know we're going to get into the slide about puberty blockers. That's especially important because even the New York Times admits that there are not enough long-term studies to indicate that these drugs are safe.
Let's get to the next slide here. Again, this is what medical students at Georgetown University are learning. What sticks out to you on this one?
The first point, gender differences as early as infancy. They're claiming that you can tell in a baby that they could potentially be suffering from gender dysphoria or presenting in a way that doesn't match their biological reality. I don't understand how that's possible.
I've had 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. The only difference is what part of the diaper gets wet first. Honestly, I mean, how is this supposed to, what's the science behind that?
I don't know. I frankly have no idea. I wish I could have gotten in contact with someone from Georgetown or Dr. Reitman himself so that they could explain this.
They didn't respond to your request?
No, Georgetown did not respond. And I did call Dr. Reitman's office. He's a current practicing pediatrician who apparently specializes in LGBT care at Georgetown University Hospital. And I tried to call again, could not get through to reception.
All right, more of what these kids are learning at Georgetown. Let's pull up the next slide here, if we could. All right, this is something. Ask the parents how the child plays, hair, dress preferences. My 17-year-old son, who is a strapping young man, frankly, he needs to chill out on his girl craziness right now, okay? He's going overboard. When he was 2.5, I'm sorry, Christian, for embarrassing you like this, but when he was 2.5, he had 2 older sisters. And he would dress up in their Disney princess dresses sometimes. I never for a moment thought that this meant that he felt he was trapped in the wrong body.
No, I mean, I was a tomboy growing up. I would wear my brother's hand-me-down basketball jerseys and I would play football at recess. But that wasn't an indication that I wasn't a girl.
Yeah.
I mean, they really reduced someone's sex and biology down to how they believe society should view gender.
It's almost the stereotypes of
is.
genders, isn't it? That they say that we should avoid if possible.
Right. They say that the gender binary doesn't exist and that people don't have to comply with society's ideas of gender, but then they directly reinforce that same paradigm when they say that if you don't comply, then you must be the other sex.
Doug, can we pull up that last slide one more time, because there's another part in there which what the doctor is supposed to ask the parents about their child, or excuse me, ask the patient. You're supposed to ask the patient, do you feel more like a boy or a girl or neither? How would you like to play? Do you want to cut your hair? What name or pronoun fits you best? How young is the child supposed to be that's supposed to answer these questions? Which probably, I mean, I can't imagine a fully grown adult doctor asking a 4-year-old about things like this.
Well, and that's what's disturbing, is that elsewhere in this lecture presentation, after he mentions that these gender differences can present as early as infancy, he also claims that gender dysphoria can firm up by the time a child is 4 or 5 years old.
Stop it. Nothing firms up for a 4-year-old, for God's sake. All right, next slide. This is so maddening. Let's see what else these students are learning. Well, what jumps out to you here? What the parents are reporting right now.
Yeah, I mean, look at the reports before puberty. Again, it's enforcing this idea that if someone doesn't act in a completely stereotypical manner in regards to their gender, then that means that they are suffering from gender dysphoria. I mean, they're talking about boys who like to wear jewelry, which is actually quite common among
Before puberty, she adamantly refused to wear a dress to her aunt's wedding. Oh my gosh, how many little girls don't want to get dressed up in a dress?
So many. I mean, I have family members who didn't like to wear dresses when they were little and just went to their first homecoming and put on makeup and heels and loved it. We all evolve and change as we get older. And the vast majority of children who do actually suffer from gender dysphoria grow out of those feelings by the time they reach adulthood. And unfortunately, when you put them through these irreversible procedures like the puberty blockers and hormone therapy, you're not allowing them to reach that point where they feel comfortable with themselves.
In fact, Doug, if we could just jump to the puberty blockers slide. I don't know if it's the next one, but this is incredibly important too, because this is what's damaging our children and what these medical students at Georgetown were learning specifically about puberty blockers. Have you got that one? Here we go. Ah, yes, the completely reversible point, the pros and cons of puberty blockers. This isn't even a close call, is it? How can a puberty blocker be reversible? You only get one chance at puberty. If you put on a puberty blocker and you make it until your mid-20s and then decide otherwise, how are you supposed to go through puberty again?
Right, you can't. Your body progresses beyond the natural stage for you to go through a normal puberty. And there's been studies that indicate that children who do go on these blockers for a number of years will suffer from osteoporosis, defective joints, cognitive deficiencies, depression, the list goes on. If you follow the puberty blockers with hormone therapy, you render a child infertile.
We've seen Vanderbilt University stop their program, a similar program as this, and we've seen Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. University of Virginia, I think, has reversed it. Hopefully Georgetown will get the message. Hopefully the Catholic Church will get the message and they'll look at this. Thanks to your reporting, Amber Athey. Can you stick around? There's some other stuff going on in pop culture with regard to transgender issues, and I'd love to talk to you about that as well.
Let's do it.
All right, a little bit later on, Amber Athey will join us. In the meantime, more to come on O'Connor Tonight.